So first video review for this week is for Masquerade by Anne Shade. If you want to check out my review, I have just posted that. So if you're on YouTube, there's a link in the description below, and if you're on Facebook on my blog, then there's a link within the post, all the details within the post. And this is the video review. So Masquerade by Anne Shade. This was a very heartbreakingly beautiful story. Celine, who has had her life pretty much turned upside down by some scandal, that's meant her family has to move to Harlem. She meets Dina there, who kind of enlightens her and awakens these desires within Celine for a love and life that she hasn't really allowed herself to previously embrace. She knew she kind of wanted it, but she wasn't too sure, and she had a lot of hesitation. But the past kind of catches up with both Dina and Celine when this gangster sets her sights on Celine, and it's the way she's interwoven into both of their pasts. So that really comes back to haunt them in some respects. And then Dina and Celine, they're kind of forced to make heartbreaking decisions for themselves and their relationship and the sake of their love, but they're kind of unsure of what the consequences might do to them long term and do to everything. And they know there will be some, and that's the problem. So it was really sort of epic tale in that sense. But this story, it made me really happy, and it really broke my heart. It was filled with lots of passion, lots of drama, and it made a really exciting story. It was packed with all sorts of things from like emotions, and it took you on quite the ride with those, because Celine was experiencing so much. It was like, in a way, Celine was like coming out of herself, but she had so much to learn about the world and people and her own sort of threshold for emotion as well. I think she had to sort of really explore that. So it was everything I'd expected it to be, and so much more. It had like a glamorous feel to it, but it had like a dark, grimy underside that really was awoken by it, or everything going on. And it was just so dramatic, I couldn't put it down. I was absolutely addicted to it, and I had no idea how it was going to go. Like I say, it was what I expected, but I had no idea this was how it was all going to go. And at times I was really worried that it was going to end in this massive dramatic gangster ending, and it was all going to go wrong. And it just added to the thrill of reading it, because I was like, it can't. I sort of knew it couldn't, but you just were so unsure, and you were like, oh my god, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if this is all going to work out for the best. Whose happiness it was going to work out for best? Was it going to work out best for Celine, or best for Dina, or best for both of them? Or like, there were so many questions, and it very much had an adventure for Celine. It was looking right behind the sugar-coated glamour that of that era, those times, that surround that darker element that sits below. And it was a time, obviously, where different races, different women, different classes, everything just had, you never knew, like, you see it depicted, there was very much defined categories that people sat in, and people were judged on it and treated based on those things, and that's very much reflected in here. But also sort of on your sexual orientation as well, because it wasn't really, allowed, and so there was all that secretive sort of thing to it. So not only did I learn from this story, but I felt a great sense of sort of connection, kind of emotionally, both to Celine and Dina and those that surrounded them in the story, because everybody sort of had a difficulty that they were dealing with, or something that they had to overcome, or just a past that affected how they behaved now. So there was that emotional connection to everyone. And I think what Anne covers in this story is very sensitive material. It not only highlights indifferences between race, but also sexual orientation as it was perceived in the 1920s. It's very accurate sort of insight based on my very limited knowledge that I have of that era anyway, but it seemed to fit, and no doubt Anne did extensive research to make sure she was getting all those bits right. So everything was handled really sensitively, but really realistically, in my opinion. And I very much sort of related to it being accurate accurate of the times, as I say, with my knowledge and my understanding and insight into what happened and what sort of went on, which I just loved. It was just that lovely accuracy to it. And I also learned, though, like I say, I learned from experiences and seeing just how hard it was for two people to fall in love and have that happiness, do what they wanted to do, be free, you know, and going with what their heart wanted rather than what was expected of them, even though they were torn between the moral dilemma of both, and you know, experiencing these challenge with sort of Dina and Celine, both of their circumstances being quite the same and quite different in so many respects. It was a lot more than I expected to experience with them. You got to know them quite intimately in that respect. But I really felt that I could connect with both of them. There was a lot of connection there. They were characters, they were really likeable, and you just couldn't help but sort of hope for the best for them. Celine was more of a reserved character, and she had a lot to overcome, she had a lot to learn as well. And Dina sort of had the experience, but she was very mindful of people and wary, and you know, they were both very brave, and they I had to admire them for, you know, becoming their true selves and just trying to get through life the best they could. They were very admirable sort of characters, admirable characters, and they deserved all the happiness in the world, in my opinion. They really did. But I just knew that it was going to emotionally challenge them, and it did, and that was portrayed so well in here. But I really felt I got to know them quite intimately at times. They went through a lot. I had a great empathy with them both for their circumstances. I could understand why they did what they did, the actions they did, and the thoughts they had. And it was quite tragic, really. But I had a lot of hope, and I held on to it really hard. Even during the moments when I really was thinking, oh my God, this is so awful for them both. And it was an amazing historical romance, it really was, and I can't help but recommend it. It was very glamorous yet very dark in the respects of what it was trying to portray and cover as a story, but not dark as in a horrible way. It was accurate, it was realistic, and that was a dark time, but I really felt that Anne captured that so perfectly, and I got a great imagery from it. So this was my very first story by Anne Shade, and it won't be my last. I was really impressed, and I was completely moved by the story as well. Beautiful, emotional, and I just was so invested in supporting Celine and Dina, wishing them happiness, and really hoping that we'll see them again in future, because I think their story has only just begun. So I'll pop a link in the description so you can go and grab a copy of Masquerade by Anne Shade, which I hope you will. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you will too. If you've read Masquerade by Anne Shade, it'd be great to hear from you, so please comment below, please get involved, please let me know what you thought of the book. And if you are really intrigued by it and thinking I really need to read that, or if it's on your to be read list, or you're planning to read it, again, let us know, because it's always great to hear what you're reading. And if you do read it, I really hope you enjoy it. Bye.